Welcome again to the S.E.M podcast. I'm your solo host tonight, Zach Hewlett. Tonight, I'm joined by our friend Blair Shumard. Did I say it right? I didn't even
Yep,
ask you before.
that's perfect. Yeah. So,
Awesome. Well, Blair, welcome to the podcast. We're excited to have you. What part of the world are you calling from tonight?
from Fort Wayne, Indiana, so the Midwest.
Fort Wayne. Very cool. Well, we appreciate you making time to come on the podcast. Just to remind you of our format, we'll talk pre-mission and your decision to serve, and then ultimately your reaction going to Scotland. Then we'll talk life after the mission, and then we'll go back through areas, companions, and any of your stories you'd like to share. So I'll just turn the time to you, Blair.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for the invite. Definitely a great opportunity, I think, to kind of reminisce and think back. And so, again, yeah, thank you for the invite.
Yeah.
For me, kind of looking back, in terms of pre-mission and kind of, as I got my mission call, for me, a mission was always something I kind of looked forward to and planned on doing. So, I remember submitting my papers. I really did not want or have a desire to learn a foreign language. I wasn't even sure I wanted to really serve in a foreign country.
Mhm.
Um, and I had a pretty big priest quorum growing up. And so there was probably 6 or 7 of us that submitted our paperwork kind of around the same time. And I just remember, I mean, those were obviously back in the days where it comes in the mail, you open it. I remember opening was really just, I think it was my mom and dad and my younger sister. My older siblings were away at university and school and not living in state. And so I read it. I had heard of Scotland. I probably on a map could not have pointed or known where it was at the time.
Right.
And I remember, as you kind of open your mission call, you're kind of reading, but you're kind of also trying to skim down to where's the assignment. And then once I found that, obviously, and read it, the next part was like, I hope they speak English there. um, so was able to find that and confirm, and I was kind of at ease from there, and just really excited. Again, knew a couple of things of Scotland, that it rained quite a bit,
Right.
and that there were some cool castles. So outside of that, I was kind of learning as I was going, and very quickly, I'm probably not alone in this. As I went on my mission and got over there, very quickly found out it is English speaking, but it does take some time to kind of get used to the dialect and the pace of the language there.
Yeah.
So
Completely agree. I'm sure all of us from America and otherwise had to get used to that, and it was hard from the start for sure. That's cool.
yeah,
Well, good. What was the timing of that? When did you enter the MTC?
August of 2000.
Okay,
Yeah.
August of 2000. So does that mean you got home about August of 2002?
Yeah, my parents actually came over and picked me up, so we stayed, I think, about another week and a half. So I ended up getting home mid September of 2002.
Okay,
So
very nice.
yeah,
Love to hear that. Good. Well, take us to that point in time. Mid-September of 2002. Tell us what life has led you through since that point.
yeah. So it's crazy to think I've been home for over 20 years now, and
Yeah.
but definitely life has been really really good. Obviously some challenges and things, but ultimately I think I've really enjoyed where life has taken me since kind of post mission. Getting home, I went out west to school, completed my degree. Um, as I was on my mission, my brother was married, so as I got out to Utah, he set me up with somebody that my new sister-in-law knew, which was her cousin.
Mhm.
And we ended up getting married. She's from Fillmore, Utah, so kind of central small town Utah. But so we got married May 3rd of 2003, so fairly quickly after I got off my mission. married in the Utah or the Manti Utah temple. Since then we graduated. We've moved from Utah to Indiana to Ohio, back to Indiana. And then over the course of that time, we've had 4 kids. So 3 boys and then a girl is our youngest. So, and
what are the ages of your kids, if you don't mind me asking?
Sure. So yeah, our oldest just turned 18. And then we have our second son is 15. And then our youngest son is just turned 12. And then our daughter is 9. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
And I remember, I know that I mentioned in a post, I saw that your son has his mission call, correct?
Yeah. I mean, and it's crazy to think that he's my age as I was opening my call to Scotland. So, but yeah, I mean, time flies, and he's just opened his call, and he's going to go serve in Sweden.
Oh, that's so fun. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know there's a number of Swedes that are former S.E.M missionaries that are listening, so I'm sure they'll be excited to hear about that. That's cool.
No, really excited, and just to see, his experience, or to listen and hear from him as he gets over there and starts to serve. So it's a beautiful, beautiful country, not too far from Scotland, just kind of across the ocean a little bit. So
yeah, they'll give you a good excuse to go back, right? So you can go Sweden and back to Scotland.
That's right. We might, do some some island hopping, type of stuff. So
that sounds fun. Very cool. Well, good. Well, if there's anything else, feel free to share. But if you want to go now, you can go MTC or even just jump right into Scotland.
Yeah. Well, I guess one thing that I'll add, Scotland, obviously, anybody that serves there, I think we all feel that it is the best mission in the world. Sweden's kind of probably a close second now, as my son's going there. But, each one of our kids, we kind of, I tried to encourage my wife to name some of our kids after either Scottish places or people, and finally got on our daughter. Her name is Paisley. So
nice.
Never served in Paisley specifically, but had been through there, had visited and did some kind of exchanges. And so definitely a beautiful city in Scotland. And now, with my 9-year-old daughter, it's awesome. Every time I kind of think or say her name, it kind of does make me think back on all the different memories of Scotland. So
that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So, MTC experience was great. Brian Tyler was my MTC companion from Arizona. Got over there, I think just kind of shell shocked. I think at first, driving on the wrong side of the road as we, got in the airport. Luckily, we all flew together, so we all met up in Atlanta. I think there was probably 60 of us. I just remember in Atlanta, there was a huge amount, and we all, waited for a few hours. My grandparents at the time were living in Atlanta, so those were pre 9/11 days. So they came, met me at the gate. We ate lunch and then, waited for the flight to Manchester.
That's cool.
And definitely, shell shocked as we landed, getting through customs, and then just again seeing the different country. Again, driving on the wrong side of the road. We were in a big, van. Everything went smooth. Got unpacked. MTC experience was good. I enjoyed it. I was ready to move on though. It's a pretty big grind. Definitely, I think a blessing, and it does prepare you. But some of those days are very, very long, and you're just ready to kind of get out and experience. And so, met some great people. Obviously, as you're in that MTC, I mean, a variety of different missions. Going to England, Ireland. So met some great people. Had some great roommates, and a great MTC companion too, and Elder Tyler. And then I just, remember getting up and getting on they dropped us at the train station. We all got on the train and headed north to Scotland. So, arriving there, again, kind of as you're starting to get used to kind of hearing the English language spoken, right? The English accent. And then I remember getting off the train station, and I think we were asking for directions because I think the assistants were a few minutes late. We just wanted to make sure we were going and meeting in the right way. And I remember somebody spoke to us, and we all kind of looked at each other and like, what did they say? Again, just that different dialect of the Scottish language. And so got to the mission home, went out, did some, I think, chapping, and had I think an overall pretty good experience. Again, it was kind of the live stuff, and kind of still very nervous, but still a pretty good experience and something that I liked. And then met my trainer, Scott Martin, who again was, I think, just a perfect fit for me in terms of my first companion, helping me kind of learn and grow, pushing me outside of my comfort zone. And we had some good times together. We were together, I think, about 3 months. And first area was Coatbridge, right outside of Glasgow.
Yeah.
It was in the Airdrie ward. So had a really good time. Became quickly familiar that it does truly rain every day in Scotland.
That's right.
Through some ruined, luckily it was never my scriptures, but those first few days, I quickly began to know I needed to get a new backpack or something that was a little bit more water resistant or waterproof. So, and he was a big outdoors person in terms of loved to rock climb, did a lot of stuff outdoors. So on one of the P days, we took a train into Glasgow. There was an outdoor shop, and I got a lot of North Face type gear that really were lifesavers, I think, from throughout my mission in terms of keeping my stuff dry, and not having any issues. So, he was great. And then, do you want me just to kind of, Zach, just kind of walk through?
Yeah, you're doing great.
Kind of area and mission. Okay. So yeah, my next, so this, still in Coatbridge, next companion was John Ostegar from Provo, Utah. And, really, again, enjoyed serving with him as well. Only together 6 weeks, just to transfer. We had a lot of laughs. He could always lighten the mood. I remember several times over those 6 weeks, we would be, walking, chapping in the rain. And he could always say something to kind of lighten the mood, and we would both, just start laughing. So just a really good time. And, even going back to Scott, my trainer, I remember, so it was Thanksgiving Day, right? So not obviously celebrated in Scotland, but
yeah.
He bought me dinner at KFC. So we had our chicken dinner at KFC. And I remember it started to downpour. We missed the last bus, and we were probably only, I don't know, a mile from home. So it wasn't that big of an issue. But I remember we started to walk, and on the sidewalk, a car came up, essentially just to hit a puddle just as we were walking past and drenched us.
Oh no.
And yeah, and Scott was always great. I mean, he laughed, and again, it was just memories being made. At the time, obviously it was kind of cold, end of November time frame, and we were wet, but again, not too far of a walk. And again, just great memories. Obviously, like yourself, you're probably wet a lot of the time, but right. It definitely it made for some great memories, and good stories as well.
Oh man, that's great.
So go ahead.
I was just saying, from where did you go?
Yeah, so transferred to Kirkcaldy, just across from Edinburgh, and so was assigned to be companions with Chad Warnick. Okay. And, again, a lot of opportunities to learn, still kind of young in the mission. And so Chad was kind of great, kind of, showing me kind of ways to think and kind of do ways a little bit different. So it was a great opportunity. He was really patient. And we were in a flat originally with a couple other elders, And then within a couple of weeks, I think within the mission at that time, they were trying to kind of put missionaries in kind of separate apartments.
Okay.
So we moved, and we probably went to the worst flat in the entire mission. Um, so I just remember, there were some days, again, it was like our address was like a half. So it was like 432 and a half. So our entrance was in the back. It was it was a very small apartment, which wasn't a big deal. But again, over the next course of the couple of weeks, our shower probably worked half the time.
Oh my gosh, that's
and when it
terrible.
and when it did, it was freezing cold water. So one of us, we started getting in the habit of, like, one of us would start to boil water while the other person was showering, and then we would rotate and swap. So we didn't have to keep taking, ice cold showers.
Oh man.
So
Jeez.
it took us, that kind of lasted that way. And then once I got ready to move from that area is when we finally were able to move apartments, which I think then became one of the nicer apartments, I think, in the mission. So, but again, great memories. It was only worth Chad Warnick for about just a transfer, so 6 weeks. And then
Okay.
Eric McGinnis,
Mhm.
he came in, and he was that was the final 6 weeks of his mission. And he came in, and he worked really hard. I think his dad was a beekeeper, from what I remember. Somebody that just, he was not afraid to work. He just really put his head down, and was great at that. And really, stayed very engaged to the end. And so he was great. We did some funny things together. Tried the gallon challenge and silly things like P-Day. I did drink more than he did of the milk, and so I
Oh
got
my god.
closer to it. But it was it was a lot of good, and we had some success too. In terms of with brother or Elder Warnick, what he had done, and then as Elder McGinnis came in, we had some baptisms, which was great. Um, and then Elder McGinnis went home, or yeah, Eric McGinnis went home, and I got Seth Erkenbrack.
Okay.
Um, and Seth was again, awesome in the sense of he kept everything light and never got down. He could make anybody smile and laugh, and we had a lot of good time. At that point on my mission, I wanted to get my license. Serving in Coatbridge, I had completed the written portion of it,
Mhm.
and now wanted to kind of just pursue the driving portion of it. And it was just amazing at how intense that driving is over there. I mean, being in the United States, you kind of turn 16, you go down, take a test. It's pretty easy, and you get your license, and you go about your way.
Yeah.
There, it's not as easy, and I'd heard kind of horror stories in terms of people not passing several times. And luckily, there was a member of our ward in Kirkcaldy that was a driving instructor.
Oh wow.
So he kind of cut me a deal, but it wasn't still free at all, obviously. And so I started to scale back, and I was eating like the canned peaches. If you remember those, you could buy them for like 5 pence. And like
Yeah.
I was buying cheap bread and eating peanut butter sandwiches to get this license. And I mean, I guess, yeah, just to reminisce in a story that, so that member picked us up at our apartment that morning, Elder Erkenbrack and myself. He was going to let me use his car. So as we went down to the driving test place, and he didn't have a lot of faith in me. I was learning a lot of things from driving a stick to everything else. And I think I took 4 lessons or 5 maybe. And I just kind of decided at that time, I can't keep eating these peaches and cheap bread. So I'm going to go for it. And I remember this member picked us up, and he was like, I hope you said your prayers today, because you are going to need a miracle to pass. And so he didn't start me off with the greatest confidence, but as we got to the testing center, he stepped out, the instructor came into the car, and they kind of tell you just to where to go, where to turn. They did that, stop where you have to kind of slam on the brakes and put
Yeah.
it in neutral, kind of some crazy stuff. And I remember, they always said if you have to make anybody behind you stop, swerve, or slow down, that's over the test. You'll not pass. And I remember also the parallel parking. And about 3/4 of the way through the test, he asked me to kind of parallel park. And I remember I did it pretty well, but as I made that final kind of turn of the wheel back in, I bumped the curb. And at that point, he didn't say anything, the instructor, but I was like, I didn't pass. This is over. I'm back to eating peaches and cheap bread.
Yeah.
And as we get back, to the testing center, he was like, congratulations, you just need to take this in and they'll, process your license. And I was like, kind of in shock, like, really? And he was like, yeah, good job. And I remember we got out and the member met us. He met me right as I got out of the car and he was like, hey, it's not a big deal. we'll work at it. And I remember like, hey, I passed, like showing him the paper, we're done. And so thinking about it on the more serious note, our ward mission leader, Brother Laird, was incredible. And I remember he called us that night and was like, how did Elder Shumard, how did your test go? And I said, hey, luckily I surprisingly passed. And he was like, hey, great. Just to let you know, I've been fasting, this past Sunday, I was fasting for you that you would pass. And that really meant a lot that he did that. But I truly do believe as well that helped me to be able to pass. I don't know if the instructor kind of turned a blind eye to my bumping of the curve, or the curb, but truly a blessing to kind of move forward from that, not have to keep going through those lessons.
Yes.
So was definitely great. Was only with Elder Erkenbrack for 6 weeks. And then from there, and again, we laughed a lot. We did a lot of hikes on preparation days and things like that. He was a big outdoors person as well. From there, went up to Peterhead in kind of the northern part of Scotland. And
wait, you have to say it the correct way.
Peterhead.
That's right, Peterhead.
So again, I remember Elder Barnard was my first companion there, Craig Barnard. And he met me at the train station in Aberdeen, and then we took a bus up to Peterhead. Mm-hmm. And I remember as we got off, I was like, man, does it always smell like this? Because all the fishing boats were coming in, and he was like, everybody here is either on the oil rigs or fishermen. And we were greeted every morning and mostly evenings by that smell. We were probably about a mile from the coast, our apartment, our flat. And so it was always really strong smell. But
man,
I was there for 7.5 months. So my longest area. Wow. I went through companions there, and every time when transfers would come around, and I would always be like, this is it. And they would always say my companion's moving and not me. And so, looking back, that was kind of a rough time, especially just Peterhead's not a huge city anyways. And it got to the point, like, we'd be walking down the street and, people that aren't even members would kind of like wave or like, hey, I mean, they kind of got to know me. And so, but, looking back and even towards the end of my time in Peterhead, I loved that ward. It was a ward that we didn't have a building to meet in. So we met in a local school.
The Mintlaw Academy.
That's right. Yeah. Are you familiar? Did you?
That was my Greenie area. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was.
That's why I had you say it correctly, Blair. Come on. So good.
Yeah, I loved. I mean, Peterhead. I have several members there. The Smiths. Just the Holdsworths. I mean, just several people there that made such an impact. I was serving there when 9/11 happened as well.
Okay.
And so, it was just a very memorable place, but ultimately because of the members, I mean, we, um, we started to kind of get a pretty good teaching pool. We got people to church. We had some amazing, walking down High Street, we would stop people, and met an incredible, she was a teacher, and it was just essentially an amazing person, just fully accepting of the gospel, and just an incredible time there. It's actually where I took my parents when they came over after my mission. We actually went up to church, um, and stayed there, and stayed actually with a couple of members throughout those couple of nights. But love that area. Again, always Scotland in general, but very much so Peterhead will always have a special place in my heart. Not the biggest touristy, city that you would probably ever really go back to, but
Right.
definitely an awesome place. And my companions as well. So Elder Barnard, we were together 6 weeks. Again, he was incredible. I mean, he did a thing that was called Sausage Fest. We had these members that just kept giving us sausage. Like, so I remember one preparation day, it was raining, and he, instead of like, what are we going to do? He was like, let's have a sausage fest. And I bet we ate, I don't know, like 5 pounds of sausage that day.
Oh my gosh.
But he was, I mean, awesome. We were always laughing. I mean, in terms of, he was just, he's an incredible person that always has a smile on his face, and was awesome to be around and to serve with. With him, 6 weeks, I got Elder Garth Brock, who is from England, trained him. We were together for about 3 months. He moved, or was transferred out. I got Sean Lord from Texas. He came in. We were together, and had again some really good times. Was with him when we actually on the high street met that lady that was a teacher that was really just very accepting of the Book of Mormon, of the Joseph Smith. Came to church, so really good experiences there. And then he ended up needing to go home. And so I got Sammy King from the Aberdeen ward. He was a mini missionary at the time.
Okay.
So I think he was an 18-year-old. We were together for 3 weeks. And he was just, full of energy. I mean, was excited to kind of have a trial, 3 weeks on a mission. He was still fairly close to home. His dad owned a kilt shop in downtown Aberdeen. So he cut me an amazing deal to get a kilt. So as a bonus.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, and, he spruced up our apartment, I'll say. So again, a missionary flat's never great, but it was right around the Christmas time. So his parents gave him money. We bought an artificial tree.
Wow.
We had air fresheners everywhere because he thought the apartment stunk. And so, and then the food, his parents made sure he ate well. So instead of just straight pasta and sauce that I would make, or, sandwiches and stuff, I mean, his parents, made sure he had meat, made sure he had nice bread, fresh fruit. So it was kind of nice that way. But he was great, in terms of, he never hesitated, after kind of showing and training and kind of teaching him, even knocking doors. He was always just, I'll take the next one. At first I wasn't sure, I know you need to be with me. If you kind of want me to do most of it, that's fine. But he was always kind of like, let me try it. Let me see how I can do this. And, was a great experience for both of us to be able to kind of learn. So that was for 3 weeks. He then left and went back home. to Aberdeen. And then I trained again, Jeff Rogers. And was with him. So just 6 weeks. Again, we had some pretty good success. We were teaching quite a bit. And really getting the members, they were really helpful in terms of going out with us as well. And just, took really good care of us and really good kind of just member missionary kind of partnership.
Mhm.
He was great. I just remember he loved Snicker bars. And he no joke could eat a Snicker bar like in 2 bites. He would, full size and just take 2 bites and it was done and over with. I was just always amazed, and I kind of kept telling him that too. I'm amazed how you can eat that like in 2 bites. And but we all have skills and things. But he was really good to serve with. Again, was able to kind of learn like from all companions. I learned from him, and ultimately we enjoyed I think our time together. From there, I moved to Motherwell.
Mhm.
And I was with Steve Harward. And that was a very nice apartment. And we had a car, as we did in Peterhead. So I was utilizing my driver's license.
Mhm.
And we were the zone leaders of the Motherwell zone. So Elder Harward, myself, and, he was somebody that, just encouraged me to kind of, hey, just relax about stuff. Again, we worked, really hard and worked well together, and saw some great things. Motherwell was a huge soccer or football ward. Anytime we wanted to play, or especially like on preparation days, they always would get a game going.
Yeah.
Neither one of us were very good, in the sense that we would start playing, and then they would kind of rotate us both into the goalie position, and then realize like, hey, these guys can't stop a ball either. So we would become like the subs that would kind of stand on the sideline waiting for somebody to either get too tired or get hurt, and then they would have to let us in. But he was great. Only with him 6 weeks, and then I was moved and went to Edinburgh, where I served with Gavin West. And Gavin and I were together for 4.5 months in the mission home, and so we were there together, and had some really good times. Edinburgh Ward is an awesome ward. Obviously, just right in that same kind of lot as the mission home.
Mhm.
And Elder West was an amazing missionary. He taught me a lot. I've probably never been as tired as I ever have with him. I mean, we'd be doing things with President Wilkinson, and either have to get up even earlier than we were used to. And I just remember, I even told him once, I was like, I don't think I've ever been as tired as I am. And I remember driving once, and I remember at a red light. We never told President Wilkinson this, but we were at a red light, and I was like, I have to shut my eyes. And so I remember I put it in neutral, and I put the emergency brake on, and I remember I just, kind of shut my eyes and put my head back. I was driving at the time as well. And so I remember the light went green. I don't even think Elder West even said, hey, hey, let's go. It was like the car behind me beeped, and then, I put it in first gear, took the emergency brake on, and we went our way. But just, I mean, a lot of awesome stories, but just it was a lot of fun to be able to work with him, and we did a lot of good things, and had a lot of good times, I think, as well. And I remember we also bought on one of the preparation days, we were doing our grocery shopping and came across a what do you call the yellow bats? There's like professional leagues now with them.
A cricket bat?
No, they're like the baseball bat, but old
wiffle.
school wiffle ball. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I remember we found it was a wiffle ball set, and so we actually went into where the mission home, the lawn, and we made the wall to where the stake center was the home run, and we swung and swung. And I
Awesome.
remember that day, both of our like abs, the obliques were completely sore because I bet we played for like 2 hours. And
Oh, man.
I mean, neither one of us were good. I think one of the actual English elders had hit the most home runs that was with us at the time. So like, but it was, yeah, we had a lot of good times. He left and went home and ended his mission. And then I got Josh Francia. And Josh and I were together, I think just 6 weeks. Maybe it was 3 months, but I think it was just 6 weeks. But I mean, an amazing missionary. He would challenge people on the spot, so on doors, in the pub, I mean, on High Street, in terms of preparing to be baptized, living the word of wisdom, and just very bold, and really admired and appreciated him of that, in terms of just being more bold with invitations and not waiting for to follow kind of at the time kind of those more standard discussions, but when prompted, and things like that, to make those bold invitations. And so had great times, good laughs with him. Just a really good time together. Learned a lot from him, and really just gelled. Had a really good teaching pool there as well. We did quite a bit of exchanges, just with the different zones and things like that too. But really, had a great time. We did have a baptism together. It was actually a lady who was from Jamaica that lived in Scotland for like 20 years. So she had the most unique accent. So a Jamaican accent with like a Scottish twang to it. So very, very amazing. She was awesome. And just an incredible, time there. So, after Josh Francia, then my obviously time, was quickly came to an end. Like I said, my parents actually came over, met, and we toured kind of all my areas. Like I said, went to church in Peterhead, and then ended in Manchester. We did, we went to the temple, and then headed home after going to London. So amazing time, and again, it's crazy to think how much time has gone by,
Right.
and how old I guess we all are now, in the sense of even myself now having an old enough or a child old enough to now go on their mission. But Scotland definitely always will, and it always has held a special place in my heart. It's everything. I mean, the people, the land, the culture, just the heritage, the history. It's so, I mean, beautiful castles, green, there's no place like it, and just feel extremely blessed, and as I think any missionary, wherever they serve, with all those things. But, President Wilkinson, taught me so much. I remember when we were there, I don't know if it was similar to you. He gave us the 6 characteristics of a successful missionary, and really tied those in, learned the importance of, of just being obedient, and the purpose and the why behind obedience, and what comes in the blessings that come from being obedient. And just, think of him often. I've visited him a couple of different times as we go west for vacations and stuff, and have visited him. But just somebody that, outside of my own father, has impacted my life for the good, and just somebody that, he would always kind of at the pulpit and things, you'd want to run through a brick wall for him after like zone conferences, because he could just get you so hyped up and ready to go to work, and nothing was going to stop what we were there to do. And so just incredible. So
Hmm.
definitely, appreciate the time, appreciate you listening to
Of
me as
course.
well in terms of the stories, but great opportunity to kind of reminisce and to think back
Yeah.
on Scotland.
No, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that we've recognized through this process is every single one of our former brothers and sisters from the Scotland Edinburgh Mission have unique stories to tell, and no two people have the exact same track of where they've been, but we've
Yeah.
probably touched a few of those bases along the way, that are similar. And as much as I've had the privilege of listening to you firsthand tonight, I know for certainty, Blair, that there'll be plenty that will listen and will love hearing your tales of what was the mission in the August of 2000 through the end of 2002 in your mission. So that one question that came to my mind as we were talking is, I'm curious to know what the number of zones were and the number of missionaries were in your mission towards the end.
Yeah, so we were starting just to kind of consolidate and downsize a little bit.
Hmm.
I'm trying to think of the zones. I think we still had uh, eight. I think
Okay.
there were still eight. But the
Wow.
missionaries, I think we went down from, I think when I first got there, we were, um, and I want to say like at 140.
Okay.
And there towards the end, I think we got down to like 110.
Okay.
So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of fluctuated there at that point of time where I think we were just about 100 by the time I left. So, and again,
Okay.
we got up to the 120, 130 range. So anywhere in between there. And I had a little bit of time between you. I was January of '05 to January of '07. So
Okay.
it's good to hear that there was some consistency, because we spoke with a missionary recently, and he had mentioned that there were well over 200 missionaries in the mission. And think it was Tyler Snow, if you remember that name.
Oh, yeah.
And oh,
See, yeah. So I was hesitant. I do think when I first got there, we were probably like at 180. And
okay,
I think over the course of time, it kind of decreased a little bit. But yeah, he was there kind of right at the beginning of my mission.
hmm,
So, but that probably, yeah, with him saying 200, we probably were like at 180 for a
okay,
good chunk of my mission. So,
yeah, that's cool. I love
yeah.
it. um, do you have any other specific memories of Sister Wilkinson? Just out of curiosity, I know you've mentioned some of your memories of President
Oh,
Wilkinson. Is there any from Sister Wilkinson?
yeah, she was awesome. I remember um, I went to see her during president interviews and stuff, and um, you meet with President Wilkinson, and then you kind of he would always say you just have a short blather with Sister Wilkinson, and I went in, and I think it was 5 minutes became 10, 10 became 15, 15 became 20, because she was so interested. I had told her at the time, like my older brother and older sister, within a matter of like 6 months, as I was on my mission, got married, so I hadn't met their
Oh wow,
spouses.
yeah.
And I remember she was like, show me pictures, and then in addition to that, I was like, hey, because she's like, how's your health? And I had a bad case of razor burn. That was when I was in this apartment that we had no hot water. So I was like shaving with freezing cold water every day. And so she took, I bet it was 25, 30 minutes, but not only kind of, she was asking me about how everything's at home again, show me pictures of, the wedding and stuff that my parents had sent over. And then she she made sure and even called me a couple of days later that I had gotten like some medication, the cream for
Oh,
my neck.
nice.
And she was like that. I mean, she would always be, so nice and so caring. And even if they were running late, you could always, Sister Wilkinson didn't care. She was like, I'm gonna talk to this person. And it doesn't matter if I'm gonna run even more late than we are. But she was just, somebody that truly, you could tell, and President Wilkinson was the same way, but truly just loved people.
Hmm,
And she was definitely somebody that, each time I met with her, I felt the love that she had for me as well as all the other missionaries.
I love it. That's wonderful. Well, Blair, you've mentioned a laundry list of your companions tonight, none of which we have had on the podcast.
Okay.
And what I would invite you to do, because Zach Hewlett can reach out to them just like I did to you, and some of these former elders don't know me from Adam. So if you'd be so kind as to send people our way, we would love to have them on the podcast and to hear their experiences. If anyone is listening to this that wants to reach out independent of Blair putting them on blast, you can reach out to us directly. Go to our website, 51spylaw.com, and you can fill out a contact sheet there, or you can email us at sempodcast@51spylaw.com. So, Blair, really appreciate you making the time tonight to come on and chat with us. I mean, this podcast isn't a possibility without you giving us your time, and thank you for giving us some of your amazing experiences and memories that ultimately have made an impact on your life, and I'm sure impacted the lives of your companions and the people you served there. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the invite. It's great to connect. Thanks for, I think, doing this, and not just tonight, but I think others as well. Again, it's an opportunity, I think, to stay connected and to catch up with people, and just to hear, again, stories that even if we weren't there, it makes us all kind of think back of the experiences that we had. But
Yeah.
definitely appreciate the work you guys are doing. This is awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I mean, more than anything, the thing that we've reflected on is, irregardless of where people are in their lives, whether involved in the church or not, we want to hear your story, because it is a part of who you are, is a part of your story in life, that you were in the Scotland Edinburgh Mission for whatever amount of time that was. So if anybody gives pushback, that's the reason enough to tell them, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're, running the stake or you're not active in the church. It doesn't matter. I mean, we're all, yeah.
Bond that comes through.
Yes.
And that's, I think, the specialty of the Scotland Edinburgh. And I know it's the Scottish Ireland Mission now, but
Yeah.
I think that bond that comes from that I mean, I love it, and I haven't been able to obviously attend where we live in terms of the reunions, but
Yeah.
it's phenomenal that there's that tie and that bond to anybody that served there, whether it was 50 years ago or 2 years ago. Just that bond that comes from that mission.
Yeah, agreed. It's a extended brotherhood and sisterhood that goes far beyond just the moments in time that each of us individually were in that mission. So,
Yeah.
and the other part of our podcast that we always want to share with those that we talk to is express our love for you. We want you to know that we love you as our brother in Scotland, and are so grateful that you made our opportunities possible. You paved the way. You planted seeds. I mean, I'm sure there's many of opportunities of people we come across that had seen missionaries before, and it may have been you that had planted those seeds that gave us further opportunities down the road. So thank you, Blair.
Well, no, again, thank you. I mean, it's awesome. And I love the connection, not only to Scotland, but also just Peterhead. That's awesome that you were trained there. But yeah, again, appreciate you having me on. What you guys are doing is great and phenomenal, and definitely keep it going. So thank you again.
It's awesome. Well, we'll certainly be in touch here soon, Blair, but I'll say cheerio to you tonight, and we'll talk more soon. All right.
Sounds good. Take care.
All right. Cheerio then. Bye.